never spoken here, so it's quite exciting for me. And to see such a full room, it's brilliant. So thank you. It is quite tight, isn't it? It's quite very tight. So I'm hoping everybody's not going to, like get too hot and pass out or anything. Do some deep breathing, okay? Usually, if you need to fan yourselves down, you might need to. Right. So, as you know, my name's Anita Whittaker, and I help people to balance their hormones, to burn fat, so they never have to diet again. That sounds amazing, doesn't it? I also help people to manage their stress levels, because they influence your body shape immensely. And I also help people to bring themselves back to health so that they can feel good all round, so that they can feel alive, feel confident, feel amazing pretty much every day they get out of bed. Okay? I know, I'm setting myself up, aren't I? Prove it! Just to let you know a bit about me, because it's all very well for me to stand here and say, this is what I can do, alright? And you might be thinking, well, what's your experience? What do you know? I, many years ago, was the typical fat kid at school, okay, and I'd waddle around the playground, have the mick taken out of me by all the kids. Actually, you know what it's like, kids are very cruel. And obviously that dented my confidence. I was a child that lacked a lot of confidence. When I got to my teens, I decided that I wanted to follow in the footsteps of my stepmother, who'd been on a diet. And I thought, this looks good. All my other friends are slimmer than me. This is what I was thinking, that's my perception. All my other friends are more attractive than me. Again, another perception that I had. So I'm going to go on this diet. So I went on this diet, and I started to lose weight. Good old calorie counting, absolutely drew me into the whole calorie counting, the whole obsession thing. So much so that by the time I was 14, I was then anorexic, fully fledged, okay? And this kind of came to a bit of a peak when one day coming home from school on the bus, my poor sister, and some unsuspecting lady on the bus had to help carry me back home because I got up to get off the bus and just passed out. Because I hadn't actually been eating anything. I used to give my food away, just see how long I could go without eating. If I could do a long time, there would be a bonus. This is all about control. So I'd been sussed, and I was like, if you don't eat, you're going to go into hospital and have a drip. No, thank you. I don't want that, okay? Another sort of lack of control on my part. So I started to eat and decided that I was going to do my best to make everybody think I was okay. But up here, the same thoughts and all the negatives were going through my head constantly. But what happened then was, through various situations occurring in my life, where when I was 16 I had to move out of home, I went to the other extreme of comfort eating and got bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where I was actually probably clinically obese. So then I was locked into this eat, starve, back and forth, back and forth. Now what that did to my body was horrendous, because my body didn't know where it was, didn't know what was going on, whether it's going to get fed one day or starve the next. But what it did to my mind was even worse as well, because I was feeling quite depressed, because the food that I was eating was either taking me on a big trip up, because it was a lot of sugary, fatty foods, and then I'd have this massive crash, and then I'd feel depressed. And of course I was out of control as well, so nobody enjoys that experience of feeling out of control. It's a horrible, lonely, very sad place to be. So, I feel that kind of qualifies me in knowing how to help other people out of whatever it is they're in, to do with food, image, self-esteem, whatever. And my day used to start like this. Why I say shaping your mind and body is because the mind is crucial in shaping your body. It works both ways, but the mind really does sort of influence what happens on the outside. It's a reflection of that. And my day used to begin like this. I would be obsessed with what I was going to eat, whether I was going to eat loads or not eat loads, whatever. But I would get out of bed and I would sort of plod to the bathroom, and I'd do what I call the scales waltz. All right. Now many of you will be able to relate to this. I get the scales, and I'd be looking across the floor and thinking, right now, where's that magic spot where it's going to give me that perfect reading? And I'll be like this. No, that's no good. And I'll be over here. I'll be back here, I'll be doing, a bit of a square dance, whatever it is. Don't put me on Strictly Come Dancing. And I'd find that perfect spot. And then I'd do the whole ceremony of getting onto the scales. And I'd take my foot and I'd step on, And obviously I've been down to next to nothing. Rings off, braces off, earrings out. It all counts. Take that last repeat because that's important. I'll leave it there. You put your foot on the scales and then you just gently start to lower your foot down. Hoping that that scale dial, because this was in the days before digital, was going to stop where you want it to stop. And then you just whiz that other foot on really quickly and kind of like this, hoping. And you look down and that number on the scale is going to dictate to you whether you're going to have a really good day or a really bad day. Alright, now if it was a good day, yes, I lost £1 or I lost £2 or whatever it might be, you're slipping out. I know the world's a great place and everything's wonderful. But if you hadn't lost any weight or if you put some on, that was it. What's the point? I'm useless, I'm a failure, I'm this, I'm that. Beat myself up time, okay? And then off I'd go and I'd just allow that to rule the rest of my day. So I'd either, go off and eat what I shouldn't do, and I'd be giving myself a really hard time mentally, emotionally, the whole thing. So that would bring me down and then encourage me to eat even more. So, I don't do scales anymore. I threw them out years ago. And I say to people, if you've got a really bad relationship with your scales, divorce them, okay? Get rid of them. File for divorce, throw them in the bin. You don't need them, okay? If you can control that, great. If you can't, just get rid of them, all right? Because you can tell from your clothes, you can tell from how you feel. You just need to be in tune with your body, and this is what I encourage people to do: become more in tune, mind-body connection. Okay. So you get a little idea about me and how my mind used to dictate how I used to feel every day, day in, day out. Now it's interesting to note that we actually have around 50 to 60,000 thoughts per day, okay? And the staggering fact is that 90% of those thoughts are negative and repetitive. Alright? Anybody that knows anything about Deepak Chopra and read about or listened to any of his work, that's a statistic that he's come up with. And that is really scary. Now you might think, I'm a really positive person. I am. I'm totally positive. Well, I'll give you a little challenge, okay? Because I generally feel, most of the time, I'm a positive person, but when you're really in tune with yourself, then you start to notice these negative thoughts popping into your head. And the easy way to do that is to take a band or a bracelet for the girls. Or even if you guys wear bracelets, see there, don't they? Pop it around the wrist, and every time you have a negative thought, change it over to the other one. Okay? And you'll probably find that you're doing a lot of this swapping over from wrist to wrist. Quite a lot. Because we are actually kind of bombarded with negativity in our everyday world, aren't we? I mean, the news is on, and you get around, it goes around on a loop. When we're getting ready, when we're working away and we have the TV on in the morning and the news is on, I actually say to my husband, can you just turn that over now? Because if you have it on from, say, like 7, by the time you get to 9, you've heard it about 5 times. You're like, no more. It's just, I just can't do it. Once is enough. Once is probably too much. But, I want to be in touch with what's going on in the world. But, yeah, at a point, you have to say no more. I don't read the newspapers. It's not because I'm ignorant, it's because I don't want to take on all the negativity that's going on in the world. Yeah, I'm aware. But, you have a choice. And we're also kind of prodded and poked by imagery as well. It's not just women, it's men now. We were just having a conversation about this a little while ago. We're kind of bombarded with these images of perfection in the magazines and newspapers and on TV about how we should look, how we should be. There's a very sort of particular look going around at the moment. We were saying earlier about the Bratz doll look. I don't know if anybody remembers Bratz dolls. Yeah? Big eyes, big pouty lips, kind of well endowed here, tiny little bodies, so the heads were kind of out of proportion with the body. And there's women walking around like that. But is that natural? No, I don't think so. I mean, if I had to look like that, I think I just wouldn't want to look like that. We are actually perfection in itself as we are. We just need to recognise that and get in touch with our mind-body connection. Same with guys as well. There's a lot of pressure out there for men now. But we don't have to take that on board, okay? One of the things I say to people is, before you actually think about changing the shape of your body, you need to actually work on the mind, because the mind is a muscle. Like, you need to flex your muscles and do the exercise. You need to flex your mind as well and train your mind, okay? Because everything that we think, every thought we have translates into an emotion that is actually sent deep down into the cells, and the cells respond to that. So if you're thinking negative feelings or thoughts, creating negative emotion, your body is going to pick up on that and it's going to respond to that in a particular way. And it will be, you might go and eat something, or you might actually build up some sort of ailment in the body, or you might exaggerate that. People who have cancer, it's been proven that people who have cancer will accelerate the cancer through not expressing their thoughts and feelings. Okay? That's not to say it will bring it on, but if you don't express your thoughts and feelings, somebody with cancer will actually accelerate that process even more. So it's important to express. It's important to get things out rather than keeping things in. Yeah, when we emotionally eat, that's about pushing things down, the suppression. You know, you might as well, if you eat a cake because you're feeling lonely, that cake's got loneliness written on it. If you eat a piece of chocolate or a bar of chocolate because you're angry, that chocolate's got anger written on it. It helps you if you can look at it like that. Try and identify what it is that's causing you to do that, what's driving you to do that. Because every time you emotionally eat, you're just avoiding. Alright, and it's okay to feel something. We need to feel, otherwise we suppress, and it comes out through our body. Through maybe putting on weight, becoming ill, becoming achy, becoming tense, angry. The organ associated with anger is the liver. So if you have any problems around the liver, there may be some anger, issues that you're not quite dealing with. So yeah, it's really important. Okay, now this stuff that we have coming into our heads day in, day out, this negative stuff, how do we actually overcome that? Yeah, we can stop reading the newspapers, we can limit how much we watch on the news, but we can also use this to our advantage. Okay, now I'll give you a tip that I used when I was going to get married in Australia in 2008. Alright? I was probably a size 12 then, which is fine. But because I was going to Australia, I knew that I was going to be like, sort of in bikinis and things a lot. And I'm like, okay, when in day, well, I look the best I can, but I'm not prepared to go on another stupid diet. Believe me, I've done them all. I've done Slimming World, Weight Watchers, the whole lot, Cambridge diet, all of these. And I've been through the whole process of being the biggest loser in the first week and getting clapped and raw. And then 2 weeks later, you're not. You're at the back and you're feeling depressed because Mrs. Smith up the front has lost 3/4 of the stone and is feeling really proud, so she should. But it goes around like that. And then you go 6 months later and you see all the same faces again. Hiya! You think, it works. Why am I here again? Why am I in this loop that keeps going round and round and round? Something's got to, at some point you've got to realise it's not working. It does work for some people, but 80% of people that go on diets end up putting the weight back on, plus more within 3 years. Okay? And if the diets worked, we've got loads of them out there at the moment, haven't we? How many diets are there on the market at the moment? If they worked, we'd all be walking around like size 10, wouldn't we? But the staggering fact is, and the sad fact is, there's 1.5 million people who are obese in this country at the moment. Okay, and that's set to rise, along with diabetes and all the associated illnesses. In America, the statistics are that by the year 2030, there will be 26 million people who are obese. Okay? I'll get onto that subject in a minute because I'm kind of going on track here. I was talking about using imagery to help you. Right, I got a photograph or a picture out of a magazine of this woman in a bikini. I swear to you, this is true. And I cut her head off. Gone. Savage. And I stuck a picture of my head on top. And I put it on the fridge. So that every time I went to the fridge and I was tempted to eat perhaps stuff that I really didn't want to eat or didn't need to eat, okay, on the cupboard where any of the biscuits and things were, because when you've got children, they want the biscuits and they nag you to death if you don't get them. So on the biscuit cupboard and all this sort of thing, put this picture, image of this lady in a bikini with my head on it. And I tell you what, it was a really good deterrent. But also what it did was my mind kept seeing his image all the time. And what that did was my body, your mind can't distinguish between what's real and what isn't. That's why advertising is so successful and so powerful. And films as well, they scare you if you watch a scary film because you believe it's actually happening. Sad movies, you cry because you believe it's actually happening. Well, I do anyway. So if you actually see this image pretty much constantly, and I say to my clients, stick pictures up everywhere where you're going to see them regularly, this will seep into your subconscious, and you will start to create and believe that this is you. Okay? I'm walking around a bikini every day, but you know, this nice self-white figure. It really does go a long way to help you. Don't underestimate the power of the mind, because it really is powerful. And many people use it to help them to achieve lots of things in their lives. We've just had the Olympics, okay? Amazing. I don't know, I mean, even if you're not into sport, if you weren't drawn into it, wow, it was fantastic. I mean, I was really proud to be British, which is a change, but I was really proud to be British. And these people are using imagery and visualization techniques to achieve these things, as well as obviously the good nutrition, the training. They might have sports psychologists, but they'll be using these techniques. And I'll give you an example of somebody that probably all of you will know, young and old, who used this to become a very successful boxer, Muhammad Ali. Yeah? Now, he was amazing at what he did. It wasn't just the training, it wasn't just the nutrition. He used the power of his mind to create his dream, okay? Now, you know these pre-match fights, they have these meetings, don't they, where they sort of line each other up, give it all of this, give that. And these days they get quite physical. Not meant to, are they? But in those days they're a bit more gentlemanly. And they do all this sort of psyching each other out stuff. And he would actually determine or dictate exactly what round he was going to knock this guy out in, and in what time, okay? And you might be going, oh my God. But he did. Now, after that, he would go away and he would visualise himself each day, getting up, getting his training in, what he was going to eat, what he was going to wear, who he was going to speak to. Every single component of his day would be in this visualisation, alright? And he would do this up until the event, and he'd obviously get to the match as well and go through the whole thing, and exactly what round, exactly what time, what was going to happen. And do you know what? It worked for him every single time. Because the power of the mind is an amazing thing. Now, if he can do that, then every single one of you in this room can do the same thing too to help you with your lives. Whatever it might be, whether it be body image, health, jobs, relationships, anything, that new home that you're looking for. But the key is consistency, and this is where we as humans can fall down a little bit, me included. You have to be consistent, okay? Because if you do it a couple of times, and then you go, well, that's not worked, has it? It ain't going to work unless you keep doing it, alright? You have to be consistent. Even if you can't visualise brilliantly, it doesn't matter. As long as the intention is there, that's all that matters, alright? So I'm going to teach you a little breathing exercise in a little bit, but when you do this, you can combine the two, okay? So best times to do visualisations, just a few minutes before you go to sleep at night. So you're laying in bed and you just lay and relax and just create this image in your head. Health, body image, anything.